If you're like me, you probably took a good look at Baki and thought, wow, that's an amazing physique. I mean, maybe you probably don't want to deal with the childhood trauma that he dealt with, or fighting the escaped convicts, or any of that. But the physique, absolutely, I would take that in a heartbeat. Baki is built like if somebody took a bodybuilder, a fighter, and an anatomy book, and they put all together the best aspects of each. That is Baki entirely. So today I'm going to show you how to train in a real gym to build a Baki-inspired physique. Hey, my name is Jordan, also known as the Fitness Senpai, and I help everyday lifters achieve their anime-inspired physique using hypertrophy-type training in a science-based way. Welcome. Now, before we get started, let's make one thing clear. You're not going to actually develop a demon face on your back. Because, let's face it, you and I, we're not Hamas. I mean, look at Jack. Even Yujiro Hama himself doesn't consider Jack a Hanma, and he literally is. But you and I can get as close as we possibly can to one. So what's the thing that makes Baki's physique look so impressive? Well, he has a really good V-taper. And what a V-taper is big wide back, big shoulders, big chest, small waist. That's a V-taper. And that's what a lot of bodybuilders now, they're trying to chase, regardless if it is a men's physique, if it's class physique, or if it's men's open bodybuilding. Every single one of them is chasing a really good V-taper. Now, if we had to rank Baki's physique based off of best features, obviously the first thing that pops into everybody's mind is going to be his back. So his lats and his upper back. Baki's next biggest strength is going to be his shoulders. And when you look at your shoulders are broken down into three different parts. Your front head, your side head, and then your rear delt or your rear head. The side head is what gives his shoulders that width. That's going to be the more important part of the shoulder. Baki's third biggest strength is going to be his chest. So looking about how full and how thick his chest actually is. And fourth, I would have to say his legs stand out the biggest. And I say it's fourth, but it's still all very impressive. So looking at his quads, his glutes, his hamstrings, how big his legs are and how big his back and how big his shoulders are makes his waist look that much smaller. Just because your eyes go towards his upper body does not mean his legs are not impressive. Baki is not walking around in 2 toothpicks. His legs are crazy developed. Next is going to be his arms, so his biceps, his triceps, and even his forearms. And then last is going to be his abs. Again, he has a very small waist already, but his muscles all around are so much bigger that it makes his waist that's already small look tiny. So when it comes to training to build your Baki-inspired physique, you're going to need to be focusing on both compound exercises and isolation or accessory exercises. If you're compound exercises, your rep range should be around 6 to 10 reps, and then for your isolation exercises, it could be 10 to 12 reps or 12 to 15 reps. And honestly, your reps could be at any point 5 to 30 repetitions. I personally think it's boring to train in higher reps, so I want to get my set done as quickly as possible. But you do whatever you want. What is mandatory though is going to have to be the training intensity. Your rep should be 0 to 2 RAR or reps in reserve. For those who don't know, reps in reserve is a gauge on how many repetitions you know for a fact you could do after you stopped your working set. So if you had 0 RIR, that means you know for a fact you could not do any additional repetitions. 1 RIR means after you're done with your set, you could have done one more full range of motion repetition, and after that, you're gassed. And studies do show that you could have 0 all the way to 2 reps in reserve and get similar growth in hypertrophy. However, if you are a beginner, I would just train all your working sets to 0 RER because a lot of people, they don't really know how to gauge their reps in reserve, especially if they're a beginner at the gym. So just train to where you can't get any full range of motion reps and then just be done with it. Trust me, I'm helping you out here. Something that is equally important as the working set training intensity is the rest time that you have in between your working sets. So for compound exercises, you probably should rest 2 to even sometimes 5 minutes in between your working sets. For isolation or accessory exercises, 2 to 3 minutes is fine per working set. Don't worry, I'll have another video that talks about rest times because it is very, very important that you rest adequately while you're at the gym. So now let's talk about exercises you're actually going to want to do for each body part, and we're going to start with the back because Baki's back is his best feature. When it comes to back training, there's 2 parts of the back that a lot of people like to focus on. Their lats and their upper back. To train your lats, you want to make sure that you're taking your elbow and putting it as close to your body or as close to your midline as you possibly can. You're making sure that you're leading with your elbows. You're not trying to pull it with your arms. And then when you're training your upper back, you want to make sure your elbows are kind of away from your midline, and then you are pulling back and you are retracting your scapula. So for lat training, doing any kind of pull-up is going to be perfectly fine, or you could do any kind of lat pull-down, whether that's machine, whether that's cable, that's fine, or just any kind of vertical pull in general is going to be fine for lat training. And then for upper back, doing some kind of chest-supported row or some kind of upper row where, again, your elbows are flared out is going to be completely fine. I'm always going to opt in to doing chest support rows because it's a more stable environment. The more stable you have in exercise, the more likely you are to isolate a particular muscle group that you're trying to train. So I'm always doing chest supported rows when I'm doing upper back exercises, but you can do whatever you want. That's what I want to do. So when you're doing the lat exercise or the upper back exercise, your rep range could be 6 to 10 reps and 2 to 4 working sets per exercise. If you want better trap development, you could also incorporate shrugs. I'm always going to opt in for a chest supported shrug like I mentioned before. So Kelso shrugs are going to be my choice, but again, any kind of shrug is fine. Now we're moving on to shoulder training, and for shoulders, like I mentioned before, your side delts are going to be the star of the show. So I would start off your shoulder workouts with side delt exercises, but you could also start off with front delt exercises like most people do. If you want to do a side delt exercise, any kind of lateral raise is going to be fine. It could be a cable, it could be a dumbbell, it could be a machine. That's fine. 2 to 3 working sets, and your rep range is going to be around 10 to 12 repetitions. Then moving on to front delts, you could do any kind of overhead press. It could be a machine overhead press, a barbell overhead press, or a cable overhead press. It doesn't really matter. And now for rear delts, because that's the third part of your deltoid, you're kind of already hitting your rear delts when you are doing upper back rows. And so you don't need to do any rear delt exercises, but if you wanted to incorporate some extra volume for your rear delts, any kind of rear delt fly is going to be fine. Since your side delts and rear delts are more isolation exercises, your rep range could be 10 to 12 reps. But when you are doing that overhead press for your front delts, 6 to 10 reps for your front delts. Your working sets for each exercise is going to be 2 to 4 working sets. Now when it comes to chest training, any kind of flat press or incline press is going to be fine. Most people are going to opt for the incline press because the upper chest gives that more aesthetic look, and it is a little bit more difficult to kind of develop. So any kind of incline chest is what I'm going to do. Smith machine, barbell, dumbbell, or any other kind of machine is going to be fine. Pairing that flat or incline press with a chest fly, that's all I really need. Chest is really, really easy. For your incline or your flat press, do 2 to 3 working sets, 6 to 10 reps, and then we're doing your flies, 2 to 3 working sets, again, 10 to 12 reps. Moving on to legs, this is a muscle group that a lot of people have trouble gauging their RIR, so just make sure that you're training them right. But starting with quads, any kind of stable pressing motion is going to be fine, so that could be a barbell back squat, a hack squat, a Smith machine squat, a leg press. It doesn't really matter. If you have a really, really cool gym and you have a pendulum squat, I would opt for that one every single time, but my gym isn't that cool, I guess. But doing any of those kind of pressing motions along with a leg extension is going to be fine because a leg extension hits that really hard muscle group, that rectus femoris, that the other pressing exercises doesn't really hit. So you only really need 2 exercises for really good quads. Moving over to hamstrings, you need to have some kind of hip hinging motion and some kind of leg curling motion. So a hip hinging exercise would be a Romanian deadlift or a stiff leg deadlift. These are my favorite exercises because I can show off a little bit more because I'm really good at them. But this is kind of where I said you don't need to have any kind of erector kind of exercises for your back, because when you are doing any kind of hip hinging motion, you are training your erectors as well. So now you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone with this compound exercise. So after the hip hinging motion, do some kind of leg curl, and your repetitions for the hip hingings is going to be 6 to 10 reps. Repetitions for the leg curl is going to be, again, 10 to 12 reps. 2 to 4 working sets for each muscle group. You should be seeing a pattern with these compounded isolation exercises. I already said in the very beginning. For arm training, that is super easy. For biceps, it's going to be elbow flexion, and then for triceps, it's going to be elbow extension. You only need 1 or 2 exercises of each. So just find some kind of curling exercise and get really good at it. It doesn't matter if it's barbell, dumbbell, or machine. Like most other exercises, just find one and get really good at it. For these repetitions, 10 to 12, maybe 10 to 15 reps, and then 2 to 3 working sets for your bicep curls. You could also incorporate a hammer curl if you want to hit the brachialis, which is this muscle right here, right in between the bicep and the tricep. It just makes your muscles look a lot more impressive. So I'd recommend that you do some kind of hammer curl. And then for triceps, any kind of tricep extension is fine. 2 to 3 working sets, again, 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 repetitions is going to be plenty. Training forearms is super easy, especially if you already did the bicep exercises. But if you still want some developed forearms, you're going to need to have some wrist extension and some wrist flexion. Pause. Last is Baki's abs. Now, Baki has really defined abs, not only because he trains them, but he also is lean enough to see his abs. So yes, doing ab exercises are going to help. And abs are super easy. Just bring your knees close to your chest for your lower abs, and then bringing your chest close to your knees for your upper abs. That's all you really need to do. 2 to 3 working sets, 10 to 15 reps, that's it. But let me reiterate, you're only going to reveal your abs in an aesthetic way if you have low enough body fat percentage. So you can train until the cows come home every single day. But if you're 25+% fat, you're probably not going to really see your abs. So here's a pretty good training program that I would run if you're chasing a Baki physique. You're going to be hitting each body part around 2 times per week. So day 1 is going to be a push day. So chest, shoulders, triceps. Day 2 is going to be a pull day. So back and biceps and a little bit of abs. Day 3 is going to be legs. Day 4, you're going to take a break. So just rest completely. Day 5, you're going to be doing chest, back, and abs. And then day 6, you're going to be doing legs and shoulders. Day 7, you take a break and then just kind of do it all over again. Now, even though this is a 5-day workout program, you can get by with 4 or even 3 days. You can do full body workouts or upper body day, lower body days twice per week, and you'll still get pretty good results. The only reason why it's 5 days for me is because this is a program that I've basically been running myself. It's slightly modified based off of what my bodybuilding goals are, but this is basically the Baki program that I give my clients. And you guys can try it out for free for 7 days if you want to. Go ahead and click the link in the description. So if you want that Baki physique, you really want a nice V taper. So again, you're gonna be focusing on side delts, chest, and back width and also thickness, but that does not mean that other exercises need to be neglected. So again, making sure that you are hitting your arms, hitting your legs as frequent as you possibly can and training it as hard as you possibly can to actually achieve that physique. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you actually do want to build Baki's physique, but you just want a program that's already made, again, click the link in my profile and you'll be able to find my anime workout programs. You could try it free for 7 days. Also, if there's another anime character's physique that you want to see a breakdown of, make sure to comment that character below. I'm your fitness senpai. Now get started on your anime physique. Go on now.